Gentlemen, welcome to MTV.
Hit me, you can hurt me. Suck my kiss. Kiss me, people, hurt me.
Rock out with your out.
Hi,
Shit talking dirty.
I'm Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Sweet secret bliss. Your mouth was made to suck my kiss.
MTV, the place to be.
It's crazy. It's wild. It's rock and roll. Woo!
In the Hollywood hothouse of rock music, the Red Hot Chili Peppers have undergone extensive genetic modification. The original Unusual Suspects were high school chums Hillel Slovak guitaring, Jack Irons drumming, Michael Flea Balzari bassing, and charismatic Anthony Kiedis as mic controller.
You know, music was the only reason that I went to school. I played in the orchestra, the jazz band, the choir, the marching band, the musical band. I played in every musical class that I could be in, and that was the reason that I went to school, and that was the thing that kept me focused on something productive.
It's hard to actually remember the exact date that we became a band, but we guesstimate between Flea and I, who have little or no memory left at all, that it's February 13th. It's right within that whole general decade, somewhere between the 70s and the 90s.
We play bone-crunching mayhem funk. We play it hard, and our motto is always play like you have a big...
One of our biggest assets is our ability to perform with our juices flowing at top speed.
When we started the Red Hot Chili Peppers, it was a pretty unique experience because our very first show was only one song. So the most that we were kind of thinking about in the future was, oh my God, we have a show next week, we better write another song. So we would kind of think in these week-long increments to begin with. Like, well, I guess we're gonna be a band next week because we have a show. After that first show that we played, I actually felt this huge explosion of success in my life. And I went from nowhere to feeling incredibly successful with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mean, there I was looking at Hillel and Jack Irons and Flea and thinking, wow, we just did the greatest thing on earth. I'm successful. And mind you, I was homeless without any money and had only ever performed for a total of 40 people on planet Earth, but I felt successful.
In the beginning, when we first started this band, it was like this uncontrollable energy that we couldn't even control, that was way bigger than the sum of its parts. It was almost like we were on top of some kind of weird volcano and it was like bursting us up into the air, and I have images from it where it was just, there was no harnessing this thing. It was just wild.
So my life changed at that moment because now I had a purpose, and now I had a place, and now all of this camaraderie and this friendship and this lust for life and for music and for energy and for sex and for rhythm and for melody and for sound and for texture, it all had a place to go. It had an outlet.
Just don't show me anything, but that's the way I feel.
Jack and Hillel flirted semi-successfully with a sideband project, but came back into the fold like the prodigal sons of downtown LA for the Chili's eponymous debut album.
I remember when we very first, Anthony and I went to New York, and they were having a new music seminar. I think it was 1984. We might have just made our first record, or we were about to make it. I don't know what the hell was going on, but somehow, I don't know who let us on MTV, but we got on MTV, and we were just, once again, just so excited to feel like we belonged to a community, that was accepting us for being who we were.
We've got a record. The record comes out on August 18th. It's called The Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's going to be the wildest, craziest, zaniest, most groovinest thing you ever heard.
It's an explosion of color and sound. It'll boggle your mind and bedoozle your booty.
We became the Red Hot Chili Peppers because we loved life and we loved music and we loved breaking down barriers of mainstream mediocrity.
We always play as bad as we can, and we try not to give a show at all. And we never try to entertain everybody, and we always try to be really lame and put no energy to it. And we don't believe in what we do at all. We have no faith in it. We have no integrity whatsoever, and we hope we don't make any money. And don't buy our record, whatever you do.
Threatening to swamp their first offering, album number 2, Freaky Styley, was an altogether punkier and funkier affair, with the infamously batty parliamentarian George Clinton driving the desk.
I got to live with George Clinton, and we had a really wild, crazy time.
The Uplift Mofo party plan, not a profane self-help course for the terminally bored, but the name of the Red Hot Chili Peppers' third and most successful album to date.
I'm here today to talk about the Uplift Mofo party plan, a plan based on a band based on a plan.
Fight Like a Brave. That was directed by Dick Rude, who's our friend in Hollywood. One night, Manny, who was Dick's partner, right when we were getting ready to make the video, he went out and he crashed his car into a tree and had his jaw wired shut. And so for the rest of the video, he was running around going, because he couldn't talk. By that time, I mean, we still weren't making very much money. I mean, we were living in very modestly. You know, we lived in small apartments, and but we were, you know, we didn't have to have other jobs, and we were doing quite well. We definitely hadn't gotten to that, like, you know, the ridiculously wealthy status that we have now.
In 1988, Hillel finally succumbed to the narcotic hurricane raging in his bloodstream, prompting Jack to quit in recrimination. Suddenly, it looked like the party was over and the band was kaput. Enter guitars and skins blazing, fresh-faced Chili's acolyte John Frusciante, and real-life animal Chad Smith.
John in particular, as you know, after being in the band for a while, he's become much more confident.
It was such an incredible dream for him to be in the band that when he found himself standing on stage with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, it was overwhelming for him, and he was just, you know, quaking with adrenalized glands. And after hanging out with us for whatever amount of time, you know, he just became our brother and part of our family and part of our, you know, part of our love scene. And now he understands that he's, you know, 1/4 equally important member, as it will always be, you know, in this particular band.
We get to push him around because he's only 19 years old.
What do you think about that, John?
I deal with it. I'm so happy to be in the greatest band in the world. I just couldn't be happy. And he's a ticklish guy in the band.
What my experience was that they were my favorite band, and I had no, you know, I was just a kid who had spent all his time practicing guitar in his bedroom. Instead of just hiring me and, you know, giving me a paycheck or whatever, they put me in the band and made me an equal member of the band, where we all made the same amount of money and we all were writing the songs and getting equal writer's credit.
Chad Smith is a very big guy. He's 6'3". I like to refer to him as a very wild, psychedelic herd of stompeding rhinoceroses on the drums.
I left high school, which is the school where you leave when you're about 18 years old. I started playing professionally because I've always been very passionate about music, and it's always what I've done and what I've loved to do, and I've been very fortunate just to be able to play professionally and make music.
Before I ever started playing music, the voices in my head told me that I would be a guitar player and be a rock star before I had any understanding of what a rock star was.
He just called me like twice a day for about a month, just begging us to do Higher Ground, and I said, Stevie, get off my back. You know, I don't have time to cover your song. I've got my own songs to be playing here. And Stevie, his persistence was rather amazing. And after he decided to pay us a substantial amount of money to cover his song, we finally agreed.
It started out like a combination of punk and funk music, you know, primarily.
We never thought about, you know, let's try to do this forever. In fact, there were several times when we tried to break up and we tried to disband, and people got fired and people tried to quit and people died and people fell apart at the seams. And we really did our best to break this band up. And it was like this, you know, strange cosmic magnet that just kept coming back together. We were unsuccessful at breaking this band up.
Join us in part 2 for Sundry Sun-Dried Mayhem, Chili style.
John Frusciante was not pleased with his circumstances. He left the band.
For the next trick, the boys colonized a haunted house in the Hollywood Hills, no doubt scaring the ghosts away in the process, and set about the live recording of their next long player, Blood Sugar Sex Magik.
Somebody said, well, maybe we should make our record in a huge house. And we said, yeah, that'd be great, because then we wouldn't have to go into a studio and we wouldn't have to deal with the anal retentive vibrations of you know, the sterilicity involved with that sort of recording environment. We could create our own recording environment and we could live there and it would be like a camp. We could go to camp and make a record and we wouldn't have to leave. We wouldn't have to be distracted. We could be focused on exactly what we wanted to do, was make the most beautiful record in the world. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. That's all that mattered to us at that point in our lives, was making this record that we had been working on for about 7 months in pre-production, just writing.
This marked the first time the band threw it down with a dapper don of hip-hop, Def Jam Records Uber producer, Rick Rubin. It's a marriage that has lasted longer than any Tinseltown fairy tale, with Rick producing all of the Red Hot Chili Peppers albums since.
And we just accepted Rick with open minds and open hearts, and he was great. He was a gas to work with.
Getting together, working with Rick is a real comfortable thing with us. He knows us really well. He knows what the great thing about us is.
He just lets us be us, which is really important.
I'll stress out about things, none of which end up ever being a problem, but it doesn't make me stress out about them any less to know that. And so it really helps to have someone like Rick who, like, throughout all these things.
Sometimes he'll say something else and it'll sound ridiculous, like it's something we never would have thought of. Like, what are you talking about? Play the end at the beginning? Why would we play the end at the beginning? It's the end. And then, like, he'll make us promise, remember you guys promised no matter what, we try everything. Okay, we'll try it. And then it ends up being great.
Rick is the kind of guy where no matter what you told him, like, Rick, we've decided to just do 10 songs. He'd be like, great. And he'd be like, Rick, we wrote 40 songs. He'd be like, great. We've decided to go in a completely different direction. Great.
He just really lets you know that it's going to be okay, and that's my #1 favorite thing that I get out of my experience with him. You know,
he gets the big picture. That's his specialty. Is he sees the bigger picture.
The album rocked the world. Platinum selling and acting as the catalyst for a sellout world tour, magazine covers and MTV Awards glory, Blood Sugar Sex Magik soon became the Red Hot Chili Peppers' most successful album to date and cemented their global fame.
We hit a real high creative peak, I felt, when we did the Blood Sugar record in that time. And it got really intense in that time. We had been at a gradual level of popularity as we, worked over the years and years and years of constant touring. And when we made the Blood Sugar record, we became, we had big hits. We became really huge. We became a huge rock band.
Pretty little people in the sea of distress. Give you more to receive your less. On the best by material excess. Love is free, love me, say hell yes.
I think that we covered a lot more emotional territory on the new record than we have in the past.
Just one of the highlights? Anthony Kiedis hauntingly unlocking the intimate secrets of his own pitched battle against drug abuse on the revelatory hit single, Under the Bridge.
There's a song on our new record called Under the Bridge. The crux of the song is based on loneliness, and there's this one little lyrical phrase that comes in at the very end of the song, which says, under the bridge downtown is where I drew some blood. Under the bridge downtown, forgot about my love. Under the bridge downtown, I could not get enough. Under the bridge downtown, I gave my life away.
We're very proud and excited about that record. And Gus Van Sant, I had acted in a film that he made called My Own Private Idaho, and I became friends with him, and I suggested that we get him to make the video. And we did.
When we did Under the Bridge, my memory of it is just getting there, doing my 5 minutes on stage, and then taking a break, and then doing another 5 minutes with Flea, and that was everything. We were out of there like that. So That's nice when there's no waiting around.
It wasn't like we went from, you know, being unheard of to being rich and famous overnight. You know, it sort of took about 8 years or so to even make a living doing what we did. You know, even though we never had other jobs, we were always, you know, doing couch tours and sleeping 10 people under a roof and things like that. So, you know, when we finally got rich and famous, it changed a little bit because it was gradual. It didn't, you know, mess us up that bad.
The winner is...
And the winner is...
my man Flea and the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
It is a great feeling to be appreciated and to be acknowledged and to be loved. I think everyone likes that sensation, but it really has to have its own place. You know, it's just an award, and there is no competition out there in terms of, you know, why people make art.
While touring this album, and with Lollapalooza lolloping over the horizon, John Frusciante chose this moment to call it a day, leaving the Chili's up a certain creek without a certain instrument. In this case, a guitar.
When I joined the band, I had this extra anxious sort of desire to be a rock star, out of proportion to the amount of work that I was putting into music, which wasn't very much. And I was just going around trying to get laid as much as possible and all that. So much so that I quit the band, you know.
John Frusciante was not pleased with his circumstances. He left the band. We miss him, and it was a sad loss. And, you know, I wish him well and project all of my love and white light towards him at all times of the day and night. But we decided to continue as a band.
Having chewed up and spat out a couple of Chili wannabes, ex-Jane's Addiction axeman Dave Navarro saved the day and stepped up.
Dave joined the band. Hello. We set about the process of writing songs, hanging out, spending time together, trying to make something beautiful and true.
They've always been the most talented musicians in Los Angeles and possibly the world, contemporary rock musicians, and I was very excited to play with Flea and Chad, and it was an honor. Bring any new member into a situation where there's an existing group, it's going to change, and like it did with John Frusciante, there was some dramatic changes there. You know, I think that the change has come from the unison of all of us playing together. And the place I was coming from and the place that Flea and Chad and Anthony are coming from, it just created a whole new vibe.
The guys gelled, and sixth album One Hot Minute soon followed. And with standout hits like Aeroplane, Walkabout, My Friends and Warped, critics were citing this as their most introspective album to date.
For me, it's a very dark album, you know, and I say that to people sometimes and they don't think that it's a dark album. For me, you know, making an album, the time leading up to the album making, I was very sad. And making the album, I was kind of sad too, you know.
Warped is just one of the many flavors on the plate of this record. It's very diverse, and it's, I like to think that it's rather dynamic.
Song My Friends is, Anthony wrote the words for it. It's a song that I can definitely relate to. It's just a very simple thing. It's basically just about you're looking around you and seeing a lot of sadness and despair, and knowing that the only thing that matters and the only thing that can fix things and the only thing that really is important is love.
I love all of you, hurt by the cold.
However, by 1998, Dave Navarro became the latest Strato casualty and left the Red Hot Chili Peppers to concentrate on other band work.
Because, you know, it's not working out, but, you know, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but the only guy that you should get is John Frusciante back, and this is before, you know. anything happened with John. So like, you know, I think he understood that there is, you know, a chemistry thing that's very important and really important in our band.
Sometimes you just know when something has run its course and it's just understood, even if you don't want to voice it because it's going to hurt. And it doesn't really matter what side of the fence it's voiced from because you both know the same thing, that it's over. And then about a week later, Flea came up to me and he said, you know, what would you think of playing with John again? And I said, well, that would be a dream, but I mean, what are the odds? What are the chances that, you know, something like that could come full circle? You know, we found each other once in life many years ago, and we thought that chapter was just done. But to have it happen twice in a lifetime was you know, a very reinvigorating feeling.
Meanwhile, the Lazarus-like John Frusciante rejoined the Red Hot Chili Peppers again as lead guitarist, after 6 years in a chilly wilderness.
In a certain way, it's more exciting now than ever because, from my perspective, like when we started playing really good, we weren't getting along as good, and we were sad and we had our own personal problems going. And right now, we're just really thankful, you know, to the Lord to be playing together. You know,
it's impossible to get that indescribable feeling on stage with just anybody. You know, there's only one person on the planet that can make you feel that way.
I think people really identified with us reuniting with John and the energy that we created by doing that.
We played a show the other day and it was very touching. There was an audience, naturally, and they were holding up these signs that you would see at sort of a Green Bay Packers football game that said,
instead of John 3:16, it was welcome back, John.
Welcome back, John.
To have a chance to do it again and to know better and to still have the burning desire to create music that we've never heard before is a real lucky, fortunate thing for us.
With the awesome foursome, their words not ours, back in full effect, the Chili's went nuclear once more with the juggernaut success of album number 7, 1999's Californication.
Californication is really just the act of the world being affected and saturated by the art and the culture that are born and raised in California. You know, traveling around the world, no matter how far away I go, I see the effects that California has on the world.
And we're very honest about our music and what we do, and so it's just only natural that we sing about California and LA and our friends and our lives and what we do. It's just all an honest representation of who we are and what we're doing.
Hey, Sergeant Barrow, while to break the spell of aging. Celebrity skin, is this your chin or is that war you're waging?
It's not a record or a CD or a tape that was made to kind of feature one song or two songs as singles. It's really a complete beginning to end. Every song matters just as much as the others. But, you know, songs like Other Side, you know, express a certain feeling in me that came out very clearly, and it's the song that makes John cry, and I know that's a good sign.
A slit in my throat is all I ever.
I feel like we did a really good job, and we nurtured the music and took time and care with every note and really gave ourselves to it and put an incredible amount of time into it. And I'm really proud of the product that we've made.
There's something kind of amazing and fortunate happens to us when we set about the business of writing music, which is we kind of leave the past outside, and, you know, any sort of expectations or pressures or weirdnesses or, you know, that stuff just disappears when we go into a room to play. I don't know why, but just something about Chad banging the drums and John kind of losing himself to the cosmos and, you know, Flea getting in a groove. I think we really do fall into a sort of a spiritual zone of just playing for the sake of playing. It says, with the birds I share this lonely view. And what it's about is entirely up to you.
We're a band that has been around through a long time, and been through a lot of things. You know, a lot of beautiful things and a lot of very tragic and traumatic things. Wounded, but with peace in our hearts.
Still reeling from the massive success of Californication, the guys released album number 8, By the Way.
I think a lot of the lyrics that Anthony wrote and is singing are love songs, but the overall feeling of the music for me is it really encompasses who we are as people, and you know, that's a really large variety of feelings.
I will say that I felt an extreme openness in my heart for the writing of most of these songs. Where I felt, you know, brutally close to the universe on certain days, and it just all made sense and everything was okay, and you know, I felt the pulse of that love just kind of rocking through me. For some reason, it was one of those instances where words just come funneling into my ear hole from outer space, and the words that came to me were the By the Way lyrics.
Waiting for Danny the girl is singing songs to me beneath the marquee overload.
The video is not a verbatim visual demonstration of what the song is about lyrically, but that's okay.
Well, Anthony gets kidnapped by a crazed cab driver, and he gets scared, and so he pages John and I, and we come to save him.
Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on.
I don't really even notice when I'm in a car with somebody and they're driving crazy. I'm so comfortable, really, wherever I am now.
Trust me. He knows I'll never do him any harm.
Heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there.
By the Way was probably the easiest video for me to shoot. I had to show up for about 20 minutes. Do you want to see my bit in By the Way? I'll show you what I did. You ready?
So, by the way, I tried to say I'd be there.
And that song sort of, you know, represented us on a whole, and when it came time to title the record, it just seemed like the best title because of the fact that it is open-ended.
Every sound on that record is a place where where nature was taking us. You know, with us, it's not a very contrived thing like, oh, let's try to get this 80s new wave sound, or let's try to, you know, get the Mexican sound from down the street. It's like, I mean, all that stuff is there, but it's all in everything that we do, you know. And I think, if anything on this record, we've just become more capable of expressing all those different things.
It's always a memorable moment and you know, inspirational moment to make Anthony dance with something that we've written. And there was a lot of that at the rehearsals of these songs, a lot of dancing and a lot of just a feeling of like a celebration of just how great it is that we get the chance to do this every day. I love the fact that Anthony's been writing so, you know, personal from inside of himself for this album.
There were a couple of times where we were listening back to basic tracks in the studio, and I wept like a baby. The one time was during the song Universally Speaking, and it was just there was more feelings going through me than my heart could contain. It really had to just open up and let some of that.
We're so happy that people are still and buying our music and still coming to see us and listening to us.
I mean, I know, like, you know, we're the biggest jokers. We're always, you know, acting silly and saying off-the-cuff things, and you know, life is fun. Joy is fun. Spontaneity is fun. But we always tried to make good art, you know, and we always tried to make stuff that was honest to who we were as people, and not to conform to any code that was popular at the time or any particular aesthetic that was trendy or anything.
Still to come in part 3, we find out what's rocking the Chili Peppers box today.
If you don't like this record, you don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, period. I want to be really funny. I just want to make people laugh.
Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Well, you got a little something on your right there. There you go. Got it. Got it. Say hi, Chad.
Hello, Chad.
Choo choo.
Here I come to save the day. If people laugh, they live a long time.
After 20 full-on years of ass-kicking, bone-crunching, liver-cooking carnage on stage, every single live show still sees the Red Hot Chili Peppers giving it their all for their die-hard fans.
I feel like throwing up. I get so nervous before we go on.
No, you're kidding.
Yes, I do. I wouldn't be able to perform if I didn't get that nervous. To me, rocking earnestly is the most important thing that a show could ever have to offer. Just pure heart and soul rock power. But if you can do that and put on a dazzling, spectacular performance at the same time, that's my favorite combination.
The show is important. We take everyone seriously, and we want it to be the greatest night that we could possibly give to people.
Everything is pretty much geared towards being able to play for an hour and 15 minutes every night. Everything I do, everything I eat, everything I breathe, everything I touch between shows is all for the sake of the next show.
Every show we do, we get together, we hold hands before we go on. We rehearse so hard, and we're like, let's give them the greatest show that we've ever done in our lives tonight. And it's like that for us every night. You know, we take it seriously. It's everything to us. You know, it's never like this, oh, I don't care, you know, I'm too cool. We're not too cool. We're here to serve the people, you know?
The music that we're able to make combined with all these people coming together, there's just this intense energy that occurs every night.
I think that, you know, when a band goes on the stage, they should be entertaining, and there should be a level of excitement to what they're doing. You know, it should be a show, you know, and I'm very hell-bent on putting on a show when I perform.
What you got to give it to your mouth. What I got, you gotta give it to your papa. What I got, you got to give it to your doctor. Do a little dancing and you drink a little water.
We started out playing little clubs, and they got a little bigger, and they got a little bigger, and they got a little bigger. And now it's this big rock and roll monstrosity.
When we do play concerts, we play a little bit of everything. So I like playing all of our music. It's just the way that I play the drums is more, I guess, more aggressive style, but that's just the only way I really kind of know how to do it. So when we play softer songs, I have to like constantly remind myself to lay back and chill out a little bit.
I could die for you. What you want to do? Oh, this life I choose.
Us playing live is what gives us energy and a tightness and a telepathy that we use when we get home to write with. You know, I love performing and having a purpose in this world wherever I'm going.
Flea and I's relationship on the guitar and the bass is the most interlocking kind of weaving thing that I could imagine having with somebody. We have such a closeness musically, and I just feel like it's a very, very rare thing to be so intertwined with another person.
We don't set out to appeal to the wide range. I love that we do. I love that we appeal to the kids. That blows me away. That is the most satisfying thing in the world, when literally a little 3-year-old boy will come up to you and start singing By the Way or Californication and actually know all of the words better than I do, because I forget. That's a good feeling.
People connect to our music because it's real and it's honest and it's emotional. And we have kind of a little bit for everything. We have some rock songs and some slower songs and fast songs. And we cover a wide dynamic range, but I know, man, I see like families at our concerts and stuff, and it's so cool. What a great thing, you know?
You know what I have for my fans?
Yeah.
A lot of love.
We just do what we do, and I don't really know why everybody likes it.
I don't claim to understand, again, you know, why a record sells or why people buy it or why people like us. It's, you know, I know that if I wasn't in the band, that I would like us because of the interaction between the musicians. Having people who play together and have it fit together the way that we do is exciting.
Now the Red Hot Chili Peppers have released their 9th studio album, Stadium Arcadium, a two-headed monster with 28 slices of punk-funk genius smeared over its double sides.
This record, this Stadium Arcadium, this is our grand statement. This is the best that we can do. This is the best that we're capable of. If you don't like this record, you don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, period.
One of the more inspirational things that was going on as we started to write this record is every single person in the band, as well as our producer Rick Rubin, had all just recently fallen in love. And I wasn't even thinking about that at the time. But in retrospect, when I hear the emotions and all of the buttons being pushed when I listen to these songs back, it becomes very obvious to me that every day we would show up into a room and it was 4 guys that were in some way very happy and very much in love and kind of bursting with this newness of a new relationship.
I haven't been this excited about the band, period, since we first started in 1983. You know, when I had that feeling when we started, like, you know, we get to make a record. Can you believe it? We're gonna be on TV. They put a picture in the magazine. You know, oh my God, you know, they're paying attention to us. We exist. I feel that way again, you know? Like, I just feel so excited about this music. It means so much to me.
Danny California is a character. It was in the By the Way song.
The first time that I heard the groove for the song that would later become Danny California, something about that groove just made me think, oh, that's a story that needs to happen. And about halfway through writing the story, it seemed like the person I was writing about was the person Danny from the song By the Way, and I just kind of ran with it from there.
I really like the way when John came in with that melody for the chorus. The way that it overlaps against the music is really different than...
It's different.
Different than like the way my brain would ever think of something overlapping
Or mine.
with a piece of music.
Or Chad's for that matter.
Yeah, it's a real unique thing.
Boom, 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 boom.
It's a performance video, and we basically go through the history of different eras in the history of rock music. We start out in 50s rock and roll, and we go through early 60s sort of groups like the Shadows or something, groups with suits and glasses, and then we go through the late 60s with psychedelic music.
Man, get into it, man. Let's get into it.
And we do glitter rock from the early 70s, and funk and punk and goth and hair metal, and then we're ourselves at the end.
Grunge.
Oh, grunge, sorry. Yeah. We do the sort of MTV acoustic version of grunge.
It's fun to pay homage to something and to have lived through a lot of it, but to have remained ourselves.
Rock and roll!
you. Something, oh yeah.
That's an Anthony Kiedis lyric. Something, oh yeah.
She's a lover, baby, and a fighter. Should have seen her coming when it got a little brighter.
Fantastic work. Brilliant work.
23 years on, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers have little left to achieve. They have sold nearly 15 million albums, had 9 number ones, consistently re-energized their lineup with 14 different members of the band, survived injury, death, and a substantial substance intake, and are still on top of their game today.
I'm not a preacher. I'm just a guy in a rock band, and we just play our music, and hopefully while we do that, it makes people feel good, and they can forget about their other daily every day and come hang out with us for an hour and a half and have a really good time.
There's this sort of thing that happens when you're in a band. It's almost like you don't have to motivate yourself. You just have to get inside the energy that's pushing the band along. The band has its own identity that's totally apart from Flea, Anthony, John, or Chad.
And just by being alive and playing music, we're celebrating by the fact that we're still doing it, and we still feel it, and we still love it, and we still caress it, and it's almost like we're just getting started. It took us 20 years just to get to a starting point, and now we can begin.
I'm still the same knucklehead that I always was, you know. I'm just Chad from the block. I used to have a little, now I have a lot. These are the rocks that I got. I'm still just Chad from the block.
We're such different people, and we all have such a different thing that fits in together, that makes us a band and gives us a unique style. It's so beyond what any one of us is capable of giving on their own, you know? And it's magic. I hate to say it, but it's nothing but magic.